folks, and welcome back to another episode of Healthy Humor with me, your host, Doc MB. Now, for those of you who don't know, February is National Self-Check Awareness Month, and if you don't know what a self-check is, then you're not alone. Don't worry, a lot of people don't know. A self-check can also be called a self-examination, and essentially it's a way of evaluating your body to figure out if something's wrong or something's amiss, and maybe that something is something that you need to go get checked out with a doctor. And when we talk about, Self-Check Awareness Month, and what I'll be talking about today is very specific to breast cancer and breast cancer awareness. All of the information for today's episode is being pulled from the National Breast Cancer Foundation's website, which I will share at the end of this episode. Basically, they have a lot of rules and guides and other things on their site that are really helpful. They have statistics, which are great for things like what I'm doing, but they also have more practical, Q&As, common myths, and facts about breast cancer that would be really helpful for someone who just wants to know more, or who is maybe experiencing breast cancer or has a family member who's experiencing it, and they are just looking for resources. The National Breast Cancer Foundation's website is great for that. So again, I will be sharing that at the end of the episode. Now, people think about, a self-exam, and it's something that's like, oh, well, my doctor told me one time I should probably do that. Okay, you should be doing them on a pretty regular basis. Doing these self-exams and these self-checks actually increase your breast self-awareness, which is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's your awareness of what's going on with your breasts. So, you know them better than anybody else, or hopefully that's true. You might notice that there's a color that's changed. You might notice a new lump. They might be extra tender when they're not supposed to be. Things like that are all symptoms or signs that you might want to bring up with your doctor, and certainly should bring up with your doctor if they are new, or if they become worse, or if they don't go away after a couple of days. Anything that is alarming of that nature should be brought up with a physician. So, I chose to do this episode because I have a family history of breast cancer. I've got several really strong people in my family who have not only been diagnosed, but who have joined the 4 million survivors in the US of breast cancer. So, you might also be asking yourself, if you're one of the men who follow this podcast, why should I care about this? Breast cancer only affects women. And what? What was that? You'd be wrong. That's right. Because breast cancer affects maybe not as many men as it does women, but your mortality rate is 19% higher if you're a man diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, what does that mean? Your mortality rate is basically your chance of dying. So, 19% higher means that you have almost a 20% less likely chance of surviving breast cancer if you're diagnosed as a man. And that's pretty much because men go longer without reporting any signs or symptoms, because they're also not taught as often as women to be doing these self-exams or these self-check-ins. Some of that could be because, macho men. It could just be a lack of information, or it might just be because no one's ever told them that they should be doing this. But I'm here to tell you, men, women, people, anyone, if you've got breasts, you need to be touching them once a month. So, 40% of the diagnosed breast cancer cases in the US right now are, about 40% of those cases are because women were doing self-exams and they found a lump. That means that only 60% of the cases that are being caught because you've gone to the doctor for your annual or your whatever. 40% of the cases, are because women were at home. The statistic is specific to women. I'm not sure, what it might be for men, but for women, 40% of all of the breast cancer cases for women, because a woman was at home doing a self-exam or just noticed a change with her breasts. So, men, your chance is not as high as women, but you need to be listening to this as well. So, 1 in 8 women are diagnosed with breast cancer in their life. They say that about every 2 minutes, another woman is diagnosed with breast cancer. Breast cancer is very serious. It's one of the leading causes of death in all women. So, Kind of scary, I get it. But the really great thing is if you're doing these self-exams, you're going to be in that 40% who gets diagnosed or detected much sooner. Now, if you're caught early and it's a localized, it's in the early stages, it's in the localized stages, meaning, it hasn't traveled into anywhere else in your body, it hasn't reached your lymph nodes yet, it's still white, kind of right where it started, your 5-year relative survival rate is actually 99%. That's almost 100% survival rate in the first 5 years after diagnosis. And if you know anything about cancer and cancer treatments, your treatments are probably done at that point and you're in remission, right? So these are just long-term survival rates that we're starting to look at. So let's get into it. How often do you think you should be performing one of these? If you said once a month, you'd be correct. Now, if you're a woman who's still menstruating, that's still going on for you, you should probably wait a few days after your cycle is over, after your period is over, not your cycle, sorry, your period, to do your self-exam. And if you're post-menopausal or you never experienced menstruation, then you should probably just be doing it the same day every month. Just pick a day, whatever that might be. Maybe it's the 1st of the month, maybe it's the 15th of the month. You can set a reminder in your phone. You can set a reminder in your phone if you're, still experiencing menstruation. But if you're kind of past that or you've never experienced it, then maybe just once a month, set a reminder. You should be golden. Now, where are we going to do this? Aside from, obviously, we're going to be doing it in this region and up into the armpit, you might think, where do I do this in my home? Great question. You're going to do it in 3 different places. First, the shower. Why the shower? When are you most likely to be naked and have a little bit of moment, to yourself? No kids are screaming. You don't have a work deadline that you're typing away on, whatever. You're in the shower, right? So, in the shower, you're going to raise, let's move Penny over here just so y'all can see a little better. All right. And again, if you are only listening and not watching, then I suggest you watch at some point, because not only is this funny, it is also going to be a great visual for helping out. So, in the shower, you're going to take your arm, you're going to raise it up, right? You're going to start in the armpit area, you're going to work your way down. What you're going to do is you're going to take your three middle fingers, or your index, middle, and ring finger, and you're going to start just kind of slowly pressing around, just checking out. Things feel normal, right? See if they do. Maybe they don't, okay? And you're going to press around. You're taking everywhere from about the, bottom of the finger, not all the way down to the joint, but just from right here all the way to the tip of the finger, and you're just kind of pressing, right? You're getting a good, nice feel of everything, right? Okay, so you start out a little lighter, you can press a little firmer and get gradually, all the way to a point where you're like, okay, that's firm enough, right? You don't notice anything, no tenderness, no lumps, no bumps, no big swelling in any of these areas, you're probably all right, at least for this check. Now you're also going to do the other side, okay? You do both sides. Remember, you start in the armpits and you work your way down, and you're always taking whichever arm is raised, that's up. You're going to take the fingers on the opposite hand, and that's the one you're checking with, okay? So, after you get done with your shower check, you're out of the shower, you're toweling off, you're drying off. This is the part that might make most people uncomfortable. You're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror. Now, you should also establish a baseline for this, right? So, go ahead, go take a look in the mirror, take your shirt off, take any undergarments off so you have a good plain view. What do you notice? No one's perfectly even, so you might notice some asymmetry. You might notice, the color of your areola. You might notice any hair growth that's there, or, any dark patches or colors or anything like that, right? You'll look at the shape. You'll look at the perkiness, maybe the lack thereof, whatever it might happen to be. But go ahead and evaluate yourself. Again, this might make a lot of people uncomfortable, but this is a great way to establish a baseline. Now, every month when you're doing this visual part, you can look and you can say, oh wow, I didn't feel anything, but there's definitely a little darker area right there. That probably shouldn't be there. Or wow, they've never really been even, but it kind of looks like that one is getting a lot bigger than the other one, like faster than it should be. Or maybe it shouldn't be growing at all because you're at a point in life where it shouldn't be growing, but it has. These are things to pay attention to. And again, this visual check is a lot more, again, the visual differences that you might see. So when you're doing this, keep in mind, what did it look like before? What does it kind of historically look like? Am I going through a phase of life where it should be changing? If so, maybe I should either already know about that or go talk to my doctor about these changes that are happening, whatever it might be. Now, for the next part of the visual check, this one gets a little weird. You're going to take your hands and you're going to put them on your hips. If you are into weightlifting or you're a bodybuilder or anything like that, you might already know how to do this, but you're going to flex your chest. So if you are not a regular lifter or anything like that, you can just put your hands on your hips and then just press in and kind of squeeze. You should, when you do that exact motion, you should honestly feel your chest, your breasts, lift and separate just a little bit, okay? And when that happens, what you're gonna look for in the mirror is, again, visual changes. This is also when you might see more asymmetry, if one is bigger than the other, or maybe one of them really lifted and one of them didn't. And that could be a sign that maybe something is in there impeding the ability for that muscle to move. Or when you flex, you might tighten the tissue a little bit more, and now you're seeing some bumps that you didn't see or feel earlier. Might be something to bring up with the doctor, right? Okay, so you've taken your shower, you did your shower exam, now you've done your visual exam in the mirror. Next step, you're gonna go lay down, probably on your bed, right? A lot of people do that. So when you lay down, you're going to put, whichever side you're gonna check first, you're gonna put a pillow behind that shoulder, okay? And then same thing, your arm comes up over your head, and then the 3 fingers on the opposite side, start in the armpits, work your way down. The reason we do this lying down is because, they say that the muscle and the tissue in your chest, it all kind of levels out a little bit. If you're like some people, you might be thinking, I don't know about leveling out, but my boobs sure do move places. They go straight to the sides. But hey, everyone's a little different. So anywho's, you're gonna lay down. Hopefully things are a little smoother. It also allows you to get a slightly deeper feel, but you're just gonna repeat the same steps you did in the shower, just lying down. And remember, whatever arm is up has that pillow behind it, and you switch sides. And it's the same maneuver you did in the shower. The arm is up, opposite hand, 3 fingers, moving around, slowly increasing the pressure. Don't make yourself uncomfortable. We're not here to do anything like that. Now, if you are okay with a little bit extra pressure, one of the things you can check for, especially in that mirror check, is you can actually give your nipples a slight squeeze. And if there's any discharge and you're not someone who should be having discharge from their nipples, most likely meaning you're not someone who is lactating because you have recently given birth or because, there's a reason for you to be lactating, then that's definitely something you should bring up with the doctor, right? We don't need to be leaking from places that we're not supposed to be leaking from, okay? So those are your 3 ways to check. You've got in the shower, you've got your visual in the mirror, and then you've got lying down. Again, if you're at least doing one of these a month, you're probably better than the average person. But if you're doing all 3, then you're great, right? Again, if you notice any changes within any of these, you should probably go to the doctor, or at the very least, send your doctor an email, put a note in your online chart, whatever it is, however it is that you can communicate with your doctor, and maybe you don't need to go in for an appointment, but go ahead and bring it to their awareness, make them aware of whatever's happening, and just see what they say. They might want you to come in, they might not. It's as easy as that. And again, if you're curious for more information, everything I said today I pulled straight from the National Breast Cancer Foundation's website. And if you're wanting to look up more, then I suggest you check out their website at www.nationalbreastcancer.org. Again, they have a lot of great resources. They've got guides and videos, fact sheets and myths and other things like that they kind of go through and talk about with you, or talk about for the average person. Again, just go touch yourself, okay? Go feel it out and see if there's anything you might need to talk to your doctor about. And if you have any questions about this or anything else, again, you can always reach out to docmb@healthy-humor.com. Check any of our social media sites, or again, you could go straight to the horse's mouth at www.nationalbreastcancer.org. I hope that everyone has a happy and healthy day. DocMB would like to talk about herself in the third person by taking a moment to remind all of her listeners that she is the let's do research and write a paper kind of doctor, not the let's prescribe medicines and maybe perform surgery kind of doctor. Again, if anything in this episode made you think that you need to speak to a medical physician, please do so. Talk to a medical physician and not someone who just does research. Again, medical doctors are the ones we should be asking questions of, or other people working in clinical medicine and not just in research and education. Thank you.